Good morning. Uh, Welcome to Uniting the Cults. This episode is different than all the other ones. Again, I'm going to be talking about a website that a user of the r/x Muslim subreddit showed me. It's called Atheism versus Islam. Let me pull it up on the screen right now first. So there it is, atheism vs versus islam.com. And this particular, there's many articles here, but this one article is something that user asked me to talk about. His name on the RX Muslim subreddit is, if I pronounce it right, La Rasp. I think I'm saying it right, at least the Persian way of saying it. So let's get right into it. Let's see here. Okay. So this article, the title, if girls start having sex at 9 to 11 in the West, why does then it criticize marriages in Islamic countries at the age of 9? This question has a lot of weird things in it. My guess is what happened is somebody asked this question, a Muslim asked this question, and then an ex-Muslim is trying to answer it. Yeah, right here. The West denounces Islamic Sharia for marrying a 9-year-old girl and demands that Muslims should not wed their daughters till 18 years old. But the West doesn't feel ashamed that small girls are doing sex at the age of 9 to 11 years in their own Western societies. The West is simply a hypocrite. So let's look at the response. And as I'm reading the response, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my ideas about what's wrong with this. And then I guess I'll also talk about what I think is wrong with the response. So the response now. What, at 9 or 11? While there might be a few exceptional cases at 11, this is by no means the norm. So norm. Okay, norm is being discussed now, and norm wasn't being discussed previously. Although it does happen to, well, I don't know that it's the norm. Maybe it used to be the norm in the Muslim world. They're saying here, Larasp is saying here, typically children start exploring sexual activity 14 to 15. I was 21. Okay, and then even if girls in the West engage in sexual activity at the age of 14, it's not typically with middle-aged men. Yeah, it's with other young people. I didn't even think of that basic point to say. This makes it sound like, I mean, if it was 9-year-olds marrying 9-year-olds, I think we would see it differently. Yeah. So I'm going to mention a few problems I see with this question that weren't immediately addressed. This is making it look like the West has one conception. The West is like one brain, one mind. First of all, there's Muslims in the West. And there's Muslims of this variety that agree with this, and there's Muslims of another variety that disagree with this. And also, it's not just the West criticizing this nastiness. It's also ex-Muslims inside of the Islamic countries that are criticizing it. So this is really, really dishonest. to be painting this as if only people in the West are against an old man marrying a 9-year-old girl. Let's see here. In the Western I mean, okay, let's talk about a few other things too before I continue. In the West, the people that are criticizing this stuff, they're not saying we have a religion and it's perfect and everyone should follow it. And the Muslims are saying that. In the West, the way it works is we recognize, and I'm saying we now as if it's one unit, and it really isn't. I'm sure there are people in the West that disagree with what I'm saying here, but I'm talking about a huge, 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 huge majority. It might be 99% or more. People in the West recognize that our morality improves over time. We find flaws in our morality and then we improve upon it. And the next generation does better than the previous generation. While Islam is treated as, because it says so in the Quran, it's treated as it's not supposed to change. Like it was already perfect. It doesn't have flaws and there's no flaws that need to be fixed. So it should stay etched in stone. In the West, and maybe this is almost all countries, I guess this is what Larasp is saying. 18 years and you're considered an adult and you can marry another adult. 16 years old and you can marry another 16-year-old or more or older. Well, not too much older. I don't know the exact rules, and it would depend on the country and state, even in the US. You can marry as young as 16, yourself as young as 16, if you have your parents' consent. And then 14 if both parties are underage. This is probably a very narrow set of countries or whatever. If individuals under the age of consent, 14, engage in activities beyond kissing, it's generally regarded as a matter for parents to address, as both minors may not fully comprehend the risks involved. If one person is a minor and the other isn't, the adult could face significant legal repercussions. Yes. Yeah, and the way we're seeing it is for a much older person, let's say a 30-year-old, dealing with a 14-year-old, a sexual relationship, romantic relationship. It is very easy for the 30-year-old to manipulate mentally the 14-year-old, where if it's two 30-year-olds, we figure, okay, the two 30-year-olds are relatively the same smart level. So there's not a huge risk of one person manipulating the other. But 30 years old and 14-year-old, there is a huge risk. And two 14-year-olds, there isn't. because we're not seeing it as a 14-year-old got so smart like a 30-year-old where they could manipulate somebody to the level that we're describing with between a 30-year-old and a 14-year-old. The Western solution is not 100% perfect, but it's still the best. I think this is getting to the point that I had mentioned, which is, or maybe it's not exactly, but Islam claims to be perfect. The West is trying to improve every day. So Islam is from the year 640 or something. It's 1400 years old. So it has not improved in 1400 years, while the West has improved since 1400 years ago. Larasp is going along with the mistake that the Muslim made, which is treating the West as one unit. I don't think that's fair. I bet there are some dumb people in the West that do this. And again, there's Muslims that believe the Islamic way and they live in the West. Funny. So what should happen in the West if a child does do sexual intercourse? Should we last them 100 times in public? No, instead the West does things like sex education. Like, people should know about sexually transmitted diseases as an example of a thing that is bad that could happen to you if you have sex in an irresponsible way. If you're having sex with different people every week, there's no way that that they aren't also doing that with other people every week, with people they don't know. And the alternative is, if you're married and you have sex with one person and the other person is also only having sex with you, you're not sharing STDs with the rest of the world, and you're not getting the STDs from the outside world. And this is partly why it makes sense to not be cheating on your wife or your husband, is because you are introducing, potentially increasing the huge risk of bringing in STDs into the marriage and giving it to your partner, and in a context where you were lying and telling your partner that they're the only one you're having sex with. The list of flaws in the Islamic solution. First flaw: extreme health dangers to teen mothers and their babies. I don't even know what the Islamic solution is. Are they talking about the marrying 9-year-olds? Shit. Oh wow, that's their logic. If a girl menstruates, then she's ready for sex. Yeah, I don't think that makes sense. No. The brain and the mind is far more important. She needs to be mentally mature first. Early motherhood can affect the psychological development of the infant. Yeah, because you're stupid compared to if you waited 10 years where you're way smarter. Your 10 years of stupid harms the child. So, like, just to compare, having a baby at 15 versus 25. You do it when you're 25. Maybe you read 5 parenting books before you had the baby. You do it at 15, you've read 0 parenting books. This looks to be talking about physiological issues rather than psychosocial. This is. I noticed they're not talking about something basic here. So everybody on earth was abused by their parents. I'm guessing there's no one that has figured out how to fix all the bullshit from their parents to the point that they have a kid and not use any of the abusive methods that their parents used on them. Obviously there's some people doing better than others, but if you just consider one person, if they had a kid at 15 versus 25, by the time they're 25, maybe they went through some therapy, did some journaling, read some books about abuse, let's say. And so at 25, they've fixed some of their stupid ideas that caused them to abuse people. And at 15, they didn't yet, or less so. So having a kid at 15 means you're abusing your kid more than if you had your kid at 25 in this scenario I'm talking about. Which means you're letting that generational abuse continue to the next generation. Savage punishments for 9 to 12-year-olds. Wow, I didn't know that they kill 9-year-olds for having sex. I did not know that. Wow. Yes, and that means never asking for help if the crime is death. Or if the punishment is death, then yeah, you won't ask for help. They'll go underground. Father can marry her minor daughter even without her consent. Really? Oh, to marry her daughter to someone else. Holy shit. I misread that. To someone else. That's in English when you say this, I think it reads as he's marrying her. Anyway. Yeah, this gets rid of consent. What's this? So there's a baby girl. How you marry a baby girl? I don't even know what that means. What the fuck? Holy shit. I did not know that. I'm trying to figure out what the point of this part is. It's trying to differentiate between the sexual pleasure of sex and the compulsory responsibilities of marriage. It wouldn't be compulsory unless, okay, so like in Islam, there's no such thing as marital rape. So a man can have sex with his wife and the woman not consent, and it's not treated as rape. Like the concept of consent doesn't exist in Islam. So that's where the compulsory part would come in. The wife is compelled against her will to have sex with the husband. And I guess there's these other responsibilities, yeah. This looks to be trying to be very thorough, discussing the flaws in Islam related to child marriage. I'm guessing some of the flaws described here are things that only some Muslim scholars agree are Islamic. Not that it matters too much. It's still worth it to discuss all of the flaws of all of the Islam versions. But more generally, you only need one flaw to know Islam is stupid. One flaw indicates Islam is man-made. Yeah, that's a big one. In Islam, and I don't know that this is coming from the religion, but it's definitely from the culture. Uh, Nobody seems to want to teach young people about sex. Like they just see it as shameful and don't talk about what is shameful, which harms people. To give you an example, there was a woman, 16 years old. I guess you would not call her a woman, teenager, but anyway. She got married. She's 16. She got pregnant. She's still 16. Then she found out the baby comes out of the vagina and she freaked the fuck out. She thought it's just C-sections. Objections by Islam apologists. It is better for a child, teen girl, to marry an older man as opposed to having sex and potentially becoming an unmarried mother. This is a weird thing. Like, okay, how about it's better to do neither of those? It's like there's two mistakes, and you're saying this mistake is less bad than this mistake. How about we do a third thing, which is neither of the mistakes? Yeah, I'm not understanding the point here. We went backwards a little bit in the US. Roe v. Wade. If you know anything about US common law, Roe v. Wade in the 70s made it so that no state could make a law criminalizing abortion in the first 2 trimesters. But then recently, a few years ago, that law got overturned. And now there are states in the US where you cannot have an abortion legally, which is, yeah. Next objection. Mass pornography and the fact that it is being deliberately made available to children as young as 5 or 6 in the West is not discouraging sexuality. On the contrary. Who the fuck is deliberately making it available to children? What a fucking lie. Same goes for the increasing trend in the Western media to portray children and young teenagers in a sexualized manner for making them mimic adults. There is some of that, and that's bad. But that doesn't mean that Islam is from God. Next objection. Sex classes are compulsory for children in schools, not optional. That's not an objection to anything. I object to that too, by the way. I object to anything, any classes, any subject material being compulsory for children. I even object to the school itself being compulsory, going to school being compulsory. So I'm disagreeing with La Rasp here. They're thinking it should be compulsory because of probability of some shit. Objection. And their goal is not to help children avoid supposed dangers, but very much to sexualize them at young age. Some, very few people are doing that. Oh, well, if we're talking about sex education classes, yeah, that's not what they're doing. They're not showing sexual things. They're showing like pictures of like what the inside of your body looks like. That's not sexual. Looking at a cross section of the vagina in cartoon, like drawings, that's not sexual. Objection. And also to dissociate biological and assumed gender identity in their poor, innocent minds as per the injunctions of the predominant homosexuality ideology. This is okay. So there are some people doing some stuff in the West, but it's like, but this objection is making it sound like it's the entire West. It's not. There's a few people. Once you see through all their reasonings, it makes you realize how disgusting their motives are. They don't want an equal life partner that they can love and share things with. They merely want, I don't know that word, broodmares. Let me look this up. A female horse used for breeding. Oh, okay. I'm guessing I'm pronouncing it wrong too. Let me try to pronounce it right. Broodmare. Islamic marriage system is nothing but a way to turn women into subservient appendages with no standing of their own. I wouldn't say it's nothing more than that. It's that and other things. I'm going to look at real quick for you guys, review the whole website. Let's see what we can find. So a bunch of categories here. Why creation and testing, divine revelation or human drama, Islamic slavery, scientific inaccuracies in the revelation, child abuse, women, Quran, hadith, hoaxes of the Quranic miracles, prophecies about the last hour, dangers from an Islamic state, Islam more generally, LGBTQ+, blasphemy, morality, atheism, ex-Muslims. I'm going to go to morality, see what's in here. All Muslims' objections answered about morality and atheism. Atheism has no morality. Atheism just means the belief that there's no God. That on its own doesn't describe any morality, but nobody has just that in their head. They have moral ideas in their head also. Yes, the overwhelming majority of atheist criticism, I would put the quotes under atheist, because the criticism has nothing to do with atheism. It just happens to be criticism coming from the mouths of people that are also atheists. This shit pisses me off. Let's see the response. Okay, this is wrong. He's saying the Muslims also don't have objective morality. No, there is objective morality, and Islam is wrong. You could say my objective morality is wrong too, in the sense that there will be a better one in the future. Just like for physics theories, our physics theories today are wrong compared to the better ones in the future. It didn't address the issue, though. It says atheism has no morality. It didn't address the things I said. Atheism has nothing to do with morality. Which means don't think for yourself. Don't make any of your own judgments. Even if you think something is bad, but Allah says it's good, ignore your own thoughts and just accept what Allah says. And the only way you know what Allah says is somebody else told you. So you're just believing what other people say. And you're just mindlessly following what other people say. Yeah, this is claiming objective morality, where earlier Larasp claims there's no objective morality. I like this question. Do Muslim preachers believe that Buddha had morals? If yes, were they the result of objective morality or subjective morality? This question is less important. This is like arguing over definitions. I don't give a shit about definitions. I've noticed that Larasp is not talking about stuff like contradictions. If somebody has a moral idea and there's a contradiction in it, that's how we know it's wrong. You don't have to, I mean, and that's the same thing we do in physics. This is not true. Lots of mothers abuse their kids. And lots of mothers abuse their kids because of Islamic ideas. Oh, I thought this was talking about the mother loving the baby. Yeah. So he's saying we start out good as babies. I like that idea. Muslim tactic, confusing people so they don't dare to criticize the evils of Islamic morality. I don't understand what that's saying. Yeah, they're just fucking words. It's the meaning under them that matters. Yes, I don't have a PhD in philosophy, but I'm a philosopher. The lesson is that you neither need a PhD degree first to enter Islam, nor to criticize Islam, nor to leave it. Yep, I agree with that. All right, well, that's it for this little session. So everyone, go ahead and check out atheism-versus-islam.com. Atheism-versus-islam.com. It's a good website. You can learn a lot from here. Thank you, Laras.